hit the go live button. And we are live.
Recording. And there we go.
From the industrial wastelands of Michigan.
No, that's not right. There we go.
From the industrial wastelands of Michigan to the fruited plains of Iowa, this is the American Greed.
Why relate to its sheer perversity?
You are the dead. Remain exactly where you are. Make no move until you are ordered.
We burn them to ashes and then burn the ashes. That's our official motto.
Now we can see you. Clasp your hands behind your heads. Stand out in the middle of the room. Stand back to back.
Who can explain the fascination of fire? What draws us to it, whether young or old?
Here comes a candle to light you to bed. Here comes a chopper to chop off your head.
And welcome to the American Greed Factory podcast. This is Nathan.
This is Conlon.
Andrew?
And Matt.
And Matt. Well, there's four of us here tonight, so it should be an exciting show. Lots to talk about.
Even numbers.
We're almost 100% vaccinated.
Yep. Almost. How'd that go for you?
I was gonna say I got mine. Go ahead, Common.
It was fine. I didn't really have much, like, all minor stuff. I think, like, it's like a bit of a headache. Was it the shot? Don't idea. A bit of soreness. Was it the shot? Don't know. Could be because I was deadlifting 240 pounds. Don't know.
I mean, that's probably part of it.
But then like Thursday, because I got on Wednesday, and then Thursday, I got like a sore throat, and then like felt kind of like bad in the stomach. So like I don't know if I was just got regular sick or if that was like a reaction. Because I don't know, I'm almost like comforted by it because like I hear so many podcasts where it's like, if you have a reaction, that's a good thing. That means you're covered against all the variants or something like that. But I don't know.
Well, it just means your immune system's working and it actually.
Well, then I'm good then because I had a reaction.
But like I also so many podcasts and Twitter was just like people like took the day off to get the shot because it just knocked them out all day. But I didn't have that happen. But
Yeah.
Yeah, I got mine on Tuesday, and Wednesday for most of the day I was not great, but I'm okay now, so. Yeah, I had chills and I hurt everywhere, and I'm like, I can't stand up and do anything, so I'm just going to stay home. So that's what I did.
I got the Pfizer. What everybody else get?
Moderna.
Pfizer. Andrew, what'd you get? You listen to
Johnson
you got
Johnson.
Johnson.
Oh, the one.
Yes, that's it.
The lucky one. All right, yeah, we just did a full house of COVID vaccinations. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I don't get my second one until the 13th of this month now. So.
Okay.
Because they've been very late in Michigan getting them out. Now you walk in. It's like, do you want a COVID vaccine? It's like, well, I already waiting for my next one.
Yeah, we started at
Can you double up on them?
I wouldn't try it.
Yeah, I don't. Not recommended. Yeah, Walmart.
I want more. Give me another one.
They were just putting on the loudspeaker. It's like, hey, we got extra if you just want to come by and get a shot. Like it's available. So.
Yep, and well, we got the Indian tsunami death version in Michigan announced today. We have the India strain in Michigan. So, yeah, right down the road from my house at Metro Airport.
Well, it said today in
Did
national
somebody
headlines.
just go there and come back then?
You got people come. We had the UK strain like a week after the UK had it because there's like hundreds of thousands of people come in and out of Metro Detroit every week. So, and I didn't know that they were doing international travel, but I guess they were because here it is. And we have a lot of people from India here that are working the medical and automotive stuff. So that's that's whatever that is. just staying home. Just not going out unless I have to.
Probably a good idea.
Well, and then like the next couple weeks, everyone's laid off except me. I got to go in, but there's going to be hardly anyone there. So even when I'm at work, I'm not really around people. So
That's good.
yeah. Let's see what. Oh, I got my new air conditioner installed Friday, or the entire system installed Friday.
Here comes the pun. Cool.
Yeah, well, those guys had it torn out and put in 3.5 hours. Like it was like, oh wow, okay. They only had to slightly modify
It's impressive.
the duct work I had. Well, I had a really small, whatever came with the house 23 years ago one. And now the thing they put in outside is like, what? Huge. What is that? It's this massive compressor motor exchanger.
Did you get
Sorry.
Did you get a train?
No, it's a Bryant.
Okay.
Which is, let's see. What did I find out about air conditioning? Oh, yeah, that United Technologies controls about half of HVAC in the world, and then the other companies are divided up between 2 other companies globally. So there's like actually 3 people that make air conditioners or technology in the world now. And the biggest one for America and Europe is under the United Technologies umbrella. So that's I didn't know that because Carrier, Bryant, and they're named off a bunch more. They're all basically part of United Technologies. Now they're branded differently and they have different features, but so I got that done because ours we couldn't put Freon in it anymore because it was so old. It was they've changed the Freon or something.
Yeah.
So the last time they charged it up 3 years ago, they said, well, this is going to be it. And then it's going to be decision time. And it's like, yeah, let's just make that decision sooner than later. Cause I'm not working in, usually at work, it's like 100 degrees when it's 80 outside. So I'm not working in that all day and coming home and like waiting for someone to fix the air conditioner. Just put a new one in. Got to do it to sell the house anyway. So once he's out of college, we're out of here. I don't know where we're going to go, but probably move into some condo somewhere. I don't have to take care of all this stuff. Because it's been like constant lawn work yesterday, today, and tomorrow I got to do stuff because I couldn't do anything today because the wind was blowing 40 miles an hour. So
Yeah, it was really windy here today.
kind of hard to put down your fertilizer, your tick and grub killer and all that when it's just going to blow away on the breeze. So yeah, and then next weekend we're planting flower beds and all that spring stuff. So that's why I'm not going to be here next week. And it's Mother's Day, and she rarely gets a Sunday off like that. So it's like, yeah, we'll take advantage of that.
I'm looking for my notes. I know I have my notes, but I don't want to go away from the screen because then weird shit happens. But going for the F1 update.
Yeah.
We had the second race of the year last week. No, 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
And it was a crazy race.
2021 Emilia Romagna Grand Prix.
Yeah, I this is like the second time I fucked up the naming convention because I said I don't know why they called it that, and when it's called Imola. So why they call it Imola is because that's the town the race takes place in. Now, why they gave it that Emilia Romagna, I don't know. That's probably some thing. But like I screwed this up last year too. They had the second Bahrain GP and they called it the Sakir Grand Prix, and I didn't know why. It's like, well, Sakir is the name of the town that the race takes place in. So
Yeah.
typically, if they call it something, it's probably named after the town. Yeah, it was a wet race, so guaranteed to be crazy. And the thing about Imola is that it's a pretty old school track, so there's not a lot of runoff areas. There's a lot of walls, so if you make a mistake, you're going to crash. and if you throw rain in with that, then like that just adds a bunch of crazy stuff to it.
Who had the worst wreck? Was it Yuki Tsunoda or? Because I know he ripped the back off of his car, didn't he?
Yeah, he did that in qualifying though.
Oh, okay.
No, the worst wreck was when Russell rammed into Bottas and then they hit the wall.
Oh, okay.
Like his car was completely totaled. I I think they were able to save some stuff from the car, but I think they had to ditch the engine and the monocoque, as they call it, the survival sail.
Oh, okay.
Because he had a really hard hit, which that was crazy. So like the whole like, so I don't either. Has anyone watched Drive to Survive season 3 yet?
Not yet.
Oh, okay. So do you know who George Russell or Valtteri Bottas are?
Yeah. I know Botas.
Yeah. So essentially, like, George Russell is trying to get a seat at Mercedes. And if Lewis Hamilton doesn't retire anytime soon, then he's trying to steal that spot from Bottas. And it was a wet race, and they're starting to transition to slick tires, which is always counterintuitive to me because the slick tire just means it's like the really gummy tire that can go real fast, but there's no tread on it. So it's actually like, I guess that actually makes more sense. But anyways, if you have a slick tire on a wet track, they will spin like crazy because there's no tread on it to get rid of the water. So it just spins because there's no friction. So the track is drying. They're starting to transition over to slick tires. And Bottas just got on his slick tires. And then Russell comes up behind him in the DRS straight. So he gets a tow from Bottas. And he also has DRS. So his back wing is open. So he has the speed advantage on him. And so Russell goes to pass, and it's a very narrow track. And Bottas kind of meanders into the center of the track, but because the track is curving, it's kind of natural. But also Bottas is on a new set of tires, and the track is still drying, so he doesn't want to be on a wet track either. And so that slight kind of meander into the middle of the thing, Russell overreacts, gets off into the grass, which is wet, and then that just like spins his car right into Bottas, and then they go spinning. Bottas hits a wall. Then they end up stopping in the gravel somewhere. They have like these styrofoam boards that like give all these markers and information, and they just blasted through like 6 of those fucking things, and they're just like all over the place because they just burst into like little pieces of styrofoam, and they just literally got hit by a car going 250 miles an hour. So, and then so immediately Russell. So at first I thought it was like, oh, Russell's getting out to check on Bottas, see if he's okay. No, he's not. He's going like he's there's like this little thing that keeps all their belts together. He like pops that off, throws it off. There's like this neck pad. He takes that out, throws it off, and he gets up and he goes over to Bottas's car, and Bottas hit the wall pretty hard. And Russell he didn't really hit a wall. His car just kind of disintegrated and he spun. But Bottas hit a wall, so he was like taking time to get out because he was pretty, he just was literally in a car accident. So Russell comes up over to tell him like, hey, what the fuck were you doing? Are you trying to kill us? And then he smacks, and Bottas flips him off, and then Russell smacks him on the head and walks away. It kind of seemed kind of funny at the time, and like, this drivers fighting is nothing unusual in the history of F1, but it's kind of unusual for modern F1. But like for what I expect out of Russell, this was wildly unprofessional.
Yeah.
I mean, he hit it. I mean, like technically, a guy was just in a car wreck and he fucking hits him in the head. He could have head and neck injuries. Now, if you look at it, he basically like tapped the guy, but still, I mean, it's the principle of it. And then Russell like goes and talks to the media and it's like starts spinning these yarns that like Bottas did this on purpose because he knows I'm coming for him. I'm gonna take his seat at Mercedes. And it's like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? just volunteering conspiracy theories. It's like,
well, of course, yeah.
So that was wildly uncharacteristic and unprofessional from Russell, but I can understand immediately after because like the kind of adrenaline those guys have is it's hard to come down from that, and also that like these guys literally perceive time and movement different from normal people. So like whatever Russell saw, like when we see it on replay, it's like it doesn't look that bad, but like how he perceives it it's wildly different. So
Yeah, and these guys are what in their early mid 20s and
Yeah.
30s. So yeah, young men.
but it got ruled just a racing incident, which basically means like nobody was ruled at fault. So it's just that's racing. I mean, happens. But like, it started this whole conspiracy theory thing going on, and it's like, well, that'll be good for Drive to Survive, but that does nothing good for anybody else.
You get penalized for behavior like that?
No,
Fuck.
oh yeah. I mean, if it's a driving incident, just means like, hey, stuff happens when you're racing. But if somebody's ruled at fault, yeah, they'll call it points on your super license, and if you get so many points in a certain time frame, you can be suspended from a race or suspended from the series in general.
I meant for going up and hitting the other drivers and yelling and
They can be, yeah, but they didn't do anything here. I guess they just left it between themselves. But that used to happen all the time, just like fist fights in the paddock.
yeah.
Well, actually, like Nikita Mazepin is like the last kind of asshole to do something like that. I think when he was in F3, I think it was Callum Ilott, like made contact with him in a race, and then Nikita Mazepin found him after the race and broke his jaw. So
Okay.
So that's another reason why that guy's an asshole. Although he's been fairly behaved so far, but we'll just wait and see when his true self comes out, or if he's actually maturing as a person. That'd be nice, but I don't expect it from a rich Russian kid who's a sex pervert. So. The other crazy thing is, so I mean the spoiler is Max Verstappen wins the race, and it's a great race. The crazy thing is Lewis Hamilton comes in second. So at one point in the race, and this is actually like just before the incident we just talked about with Bottas and Russell. So like Lewis Hamilton is trying to chase down Max Verstappen. Bottas and Russell are what they call back markers at this point. So Lewis is trying to get by them so he can get up to Max. And then, so he was actually behind Russell when he kind of fucks up this corner, because like there's really only one place you can pass on this track, especially when it's wet, and it's where that incident happened. But like Hamilton is trying to pass Russell like on a different part of the track, and he goes off the track and he ends up in the gravel, and in the gravel pits, it's very precarious, because if you stop moving, then the car will just be stuck in the gravel pit and your race is over.
Oh, okay.
So he goes off the track and he's in the gravel, but he's trying to keep his momentum, and he tries to do this little burnout thing to try to get on the side road, and then he just like runs into a wall and breaks his front wing. and then he goes in reverse, and he reverses back on the track. Very, very slowly, which I imagine is very hard in an F1 car to gingerly go in reverse.
Yeah, onto a racetrack.
Yeah. But immediately after that, that's when the crash happens, and because the crash is so bad, the track is red flagged, which means all racing stops, all the cars go into the pit so they can fix the track. And so at that time, Max Verstappen had lapped Lewis Hamilton, who was in 9th place. But because it's a red flag, the cars that are being lapped get to unlap themselves.
Oh, okay.
And for some reason, they have to physically do it. So like the guys that are 2 laps behind, like they get out on the track and go do 2 laps, and then like get back in the order they're in. I don't know why they didn't explain it, but that's what they had to do. So there's reasons why they do it this way, where it's like where you basically get a freebie, and it's like, I guess the way they used to do it is if there was a red flag, they'd come back and they would like average the 2 times of the race, and then there would be weird shit where like the guy who finishes first may have lost the race because they're averaging the times, and it's like, yeah, let's not do that shit. And so yeah, so then Lewis Hamilton's in ninth place. They restart the race, and he claws his way through the field, and he ends up being like 25 seconds away from Max Verstappen. So he was never going to win it from Max Verstappen, but like, wrecking his car, coming from ninth place with like half a race to go, and then clawing up to second place. That was a pretty amazing drive from Lewis Hamilton.
Oh yeah. It was a tough one.
And Lando Norris got a podium too, and that was like, so the thing with his, when he restarted the race, he was on soft tires, which actually allowed him to like pass like Charles Leclerc and get into get in the second spot. But he had to make those tires last for like half a race, and they're not really meant to do that. So that's why, like, when Lewis caught up with him, like, he just didn't have a chance because his tires were dead.
Yeah.
And Lewis was on medium tires, so they were going to last longer. But yeah, it was a really cool race. A lot of fun team radio. There's the one with Carlos Sainz. But the Ferraris finished fourth and fifth, which is really good for them, being that how much they sucked last year. And Carlos Sainz, who's usually known as a rain dancer, a guy who can drive really good in adverse conditions, he got off the track like 6 times in this race, but like he didn't crash, but it kind of like slowed down his race. And he gets on the radio after one of them, and he goes like, "How many mistakes am I gonna do?" And like, his Italian engineer gets on the radio like an Italian Terrence and Phillip, and he goes, "You're just too quick, guy."
Slow down, buddy.
I'm not your friend.
And then there's also the fun one where during a safety car, Mick Schumacher spins off and hits the wall and knocks off his front wing, and his engineer gets on there. He's like, "Everything's gonna be okay. We just lost a couple track positions. We're gonna put the car back together. Everything's gonna be all right." And there's a bunch of tweets where it's like, "How much does that guy charge per hour for therapy sessions?" So, yeah, it was a really cool. And then Lewis Hamilton is currently 1 point ahead in the drivers' championship because during that race he got the fastest lap, like on the last lap. So he's 1 point ahead of Max Verstappen in the championship.
Oh, okay.
There's a new weekend format coming for F1 for the Silverstone race and 2 others. So normally on the weekend you have Friday is like you have 2 free practices. And then on Saturday, you have a free practice, and then you have qualifying. And then on Sunday, you have the race. So what they're going to do on Silverstone is that they're going to have a free practice, and then they're just going to have qualifying. And then the next day, they're going to have another free practice, and then they're going to have a sprint race, or a sprint qualifying race. So the qualifying on Friday will set up where everyone is in the where everyone qualifies for the sprint race.
Oh, okay.
And then they have a sprint race, which is like a shorter race than normal, and however the driver lines up at the end of that race, that's the starting lineup for the race on Sunday.
Okay.
And then like the first 3 drivers, basically the people on podium, they get 3, 2, 1 or the point structure. But that's the only people that can get points is the people on the podium, and it's just 3, 2, and 1.
Huh. Why are they doing it that way?
Just to shake it up a bit, but also it's to try to add more value to the entire weekend. Because say a lot of because I was looking into it, I was like. Because they're going to have an F1 race in Austin, Texas in September at the Circuit of the Americas. And I was like, hey, maybe I should go to that. And I was like looking up fucking tickets. It's like, hey, would you like a bad ticket for 3 days of F1? It's like, sure. It's like, how much is that? $656.
It's
a deal.
Game.
I mean, that is 3 days, but that's crazy. I try to look into what's the race day ticket, But so like there's people that buy it for like the 3 days, and on a Friday, all you're getting is free practice, which is basically not exciting at all.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, because like
Cars running around the track.
yeah, and like they're not competing; they're just kind of like testing setup. So it's like it's not exciting. Now I would be there because normally they have other stuff going on. Like F2 might have a sprint race or what other support series they have. So there's other stuff going on. It's not just the F1 stuff. But they're trying to make the F1 stuff because that's the draw. So they want to make that more exciting. So like over a course of a 3-day weekend, you'd have like Friday would be a practice, but you have qualifying. So that's exciting. People want to see qualifying. And then the second day you get a sprint race. That's exciting. And then on Sunday you got the race in general. So it'd make the whole exciting. It'd make the whole weekend exciting. And then possibly drawing more money. And it'd probably also be better TV time for them. Like, and probably charge more. It's like, well, now our product's better on Friday and Saturday. Now we can charge more money for a Friday and Saturday's television product. And then also, like, there's potential it might shake things up, and there's potential like it won't at all. But, like, if it's a shorter race, you don't have to like change tires. Then you're not like they're not doing overcuts or undercuts. It's just pure driving ability. And there's some people like I'd say like the Alfa Romeos, like Kimi Räikkönen and Giovanni Ribisi, or not Ribisi.
He's
Wrong one.
no, that's cool.
Giovanni. What's
like
it? What it's fuck. What's his name? It's Giovinazzi.
Just go with Ribisi. It's fine.
It's like his last name's Giovinazzi. Or fuck. No, I'm believe it.
Giovinazzi.
Nazi's in his last name. It starts with a G. That guy, like he's.
Is
really,
it Gaga?
What's that?
Is it Lady Gaga?
No. Yes, and so like that guy, like he sucks at qualifying, but usually he like makes up like 9 places during a race. So like, okay, his racecraft is good, his qualifying sucks. So for him, like a sprint race would be good because when he starts the race, he'll probably be further up than he would be if it was just qualifying in a race. But that's the theory. We'll see what happens. I mean, the last time they tried to change something, like all the smart guys, like I forget what they changed. It was something with qualifying, but like essentially like all the really top tier teams, they just like juked the system, like went out there, did 1 lap, and then just said "fuck you guys" and left. And then like they ended up at the top of the leaderboard, and it's like, wait, what just happened? It's like you tried to game the system with all these clever engineers, and they gamed the system back at you. But you can't really. But so we'll see if this carries forward. I don't think it would be carry forward with like if this like continues on to the next season. It wouldn't be something for every race because like a track like Monaco, where basically qualifying is the most important thing because it's a track too small to actually pass on. Like the sprint race would be pointless. It'd be the same order that they qualified in for 2 separate days.
Oh yeah.
But for like the tracks where they're wider and more possibility for passing, having these sprint races might make it more exciting. But they're only going to do it at 3 races this year as a trial and then see from there. But what was the other shit I got? I learned some fun stuff about Aero Black Magic on the cars.
Okay.
That was crazy. This was from Chain Bear. He was doing an analysis of why the Mercedes in particular are having a tough time this year compared to they're talking about the low rake and high rake cars and what the problem is with them. And then he was describing like how they use ground effect had been banned in F1 for a while, and it'll be back in next year. They'll allow ground effect. And they have these things, and what the ground effect they had was these things called Venturi tunnels. And there's this little side pod on the car, and like there's like a tunnel in it. The air goes through it, and it kind of pinches down, so the air flows faster at the middle, creating like lower pressure there, and then higher pressure above the car. You know, like a reverse wing effect, essentially,
Yeah.
or the ground effect, or whatever. So they banned like the tunnels. So like the thing about the tunnel is it had like had two solid sides, so the air inside the tunnel couldn't be disturbed from the outside. So what the modern aero on a car does is it kind of does the same thing, but they like design the air around the car to create the ground effect. So they have the same kind of thing where the air going into the car is faster than it is on top to create low pressure. But they have all the shit on the side. It creates these vortices, like this spinning vortice of air, which protects the air underneath the car to keep it from being disturbed from the outside air. So basically, they're creating a Venturi tunnel out of air.
Nice.
I was like, that's fucking crazy. These guys are geniuses. Yeah. What was that? I have one more thing. Actually, I think I have stuff about IndyCar next. Yeah, there's a lot of races this year. There's going to be like a week break between a lot of races, which I didn't, because there's going to be there's going to be more races in F1 this year than there ever has. So I kind of thought there's going to be a lot of back-to-back weekends, but no, there's a lot of week breaks in between. So IndyCar runs week to week. So I've been watching some IndyCar because there's been a lot of buzz about IndyCar this year, and I guess it's mostly because of the they have the super rookies coming in this year. So you got you have Grosjean coming in from F1, and even like burnout drivers from F1 coming to IndyCar can become champions. So that's interesting. And then you got Jimmy Johnson, the 7-time NASCAR winner, coming to IndyCar as a rookie. And then they got some Australian guy who there's a racing series called Australian Supercars, or maybe it's called Super V8 cars or something like that. And he's like a 3-time champion there, so he's a rookie also. So far, Grosjean has been the best of the rookies, but the Australian dude is like 1 point behind him in the standings.
Oh, okay.
I haven't watched any of the races. I just watched some of the replays, but what's the interesting stuff about it? No, I'm just forgetting all the interesting stuff. Oh, yeah, well, actually, like one thing I got, there's a lot of excitement because these super rookies coming in, but like the thing I learned is that I think the Australian dude has a better chance because I think he's with Penske Racing, and so in the past 18 years, there's only been 3 teams that have won the championship. So Grosjean's not on one of those teams, so he's probably not going to win the championship. Of those 3 teams, so you have Andretti Racing, which the last time they won was 2012. So in the past 9 years, the only teams I've won has been Penske Racing and Chip Ganassi Racing. So it's probably just going to be those teams that win. Also, another interesting thing about that. So like in F1, you have 2 racers per one team. That's not they don't do that in IndyCar. Like Penske has like 5 cars that they run every race.
Oh, okay.
There's also not a constructors champion. Like it's just like whoever is the best driver, that team wins or something like that. I think that's how it works. I don't know. There's a lot. I'm still learning stuff about IndyCar. I forgot about their whole jack system. Have you seen the jack system on the new Indy cars?
No, is it like the one pump and it's all the way up in the air?
Yeah, so they don't have a jack guy. There's just like a pneumatic tube they shove into the car, and there's a jack underneath the car. Inside, it's integrated into the car, and it lifts itself off the ground.
Oh, okay.
And then the guy just takes it out, and the car goes back on the ground. That's pretty cool. And also, like, they have a limit into how many guys can like actually work on the car. So pit stops are much longer in IndyCar, but like probably more exciting because of that.
Yeah.
Because they have like refueling, adjustments, tires, all that stuff. Whereas F1, like I forget what it is. Like they have like an F1, there's like 3 guys per tire, 2 jack guys, and then a guy who's like monitoring traffic, and there can also be like guys that put on a front wing or adjust things. Like so, you can have like 20 guys on one F1 car in a pit stop. Not an Indy car. I think it's like 6 guys can go over the wall.
Huh.
But yeah, and then there's been some discussion because there's a guy who's 21 years old. He won the last IndyCar race. It's like something like Gerda or something like that. He's 21, and there's a lot of talk about like could that he possibly make could he get an F1 seat? And there's a lot of like probably not. So just never gonna get an American driver in F1 probably.
Well, they have other options here too.
Yeah. It's that there'd be the, big fish in a small pond, big fish, that stuff. So
Yeah.
plus I don't know, like it's like I was listening to Sergio Perez talk about something, and like he's from Mexico and he's an F1 driver, and like he was talking about basically how he didn't have a childhood. Because if he wanted to race in F1, he had to go over to Europe to go race in like the karting series there. So then he could get an F3 and all that other stuff. Like that was the way to go. So basically, he just like didn't have a childhood because it was just completely about racing. And like was off racing most of the year, so he didn't like necessarily live in Mexico with his family and all that stuff. So. Although there are some American drivers in F3, but none of them are notable. I think there might be one in F2 as well, but none of them are championship caliber. But
Yeah.
anyway, so that is the overlong F1 updates.
It's all right.
F1 is among us.
And then they had their qualifying today, and it was a Mercedes 1-2 for Portimao, Portugal race, which is a really cool track because it's a lot of ups and downs. Like liken it to a roller coaster, and like when you have the helicopter flying around the track and you got cars going up and cars going down, it's like it just looks really cool. But anyways,
Yeah, I watched Tenet today.
oh shit.
How'd that go?
Cool at first, but then overlong and frustrating.
Yep.
I initially liked the ideas presented, and I thought, oh, we're going to expand on these, and this is going to make more sense. Nope. We're just gonna, like I said, there's a lot of high concept in the film. It was a great looking film with a lot of good actors, but when I'm at the halfway point, and I'm like, okay, come on. Okay, and there's cool stuff going on, but it's like, I don't know. It was a tough. Became a tough slog. Usually, I'm not that way with movies, but
I don't know. Like I almost liken it to like season 2 of Westworld. It's like, okay, I get it. You're smart. That doesn't mean this is good. Although I thought Tenet was really cool, but it was so far up its own ass that it was hard to like bear sometimes. I may have said on the podcast before, but like the protagonist's name is the protagonist.
yeah.
That's what he is called.
Which I kind of liked.
Wow.
I watched it with subtitles, and it always said protagonist, doing this, doing that. I sort of liked that for 15 minutes, and I realized, oh, wait a minute, this isn't developing into anything. This is calling the main character for like reasons. Like, oh yeah, that's cool. It's like, okay.
And then like for half of the movie, it's like, is this guy doing a Denzel Washington impression? And I found out it's Denzel Washington's son. So
Yeah, so he doesn't have to try too hard.
no.
You pulled a fast one on you.
Yeah, I mean, it was good. I mean, everyone did a good job, and overall, it was entertaining. But it kind of got stuck in like second gear and never got out of it.
Yeah.
And I was really thinking, it's like, I know Christopher Nolan can write movies well, and I know that plots can evolve. Maybe not the way you think they should or want to or could, but
Well, I also think like almost every actor duo had like really awkward chemistry.
Yes. Yeah.
Like it's like everybody individual is good, but like when you have Robert Pattinson, what's his name? It's like Kerry Washington or something. I can't remember his name.
Oh, the main actor.
Oh,
Yeah.
you mean is it John David Washington? Something
Yeah,
like that?
John Day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like individually I liked them, but like when they were together, it just came off as awkward. But also, I think you're supposed to pick up on something that like at some point, the protagonist like did a super back in time thing. Like he went back in time all the way and befriended Robert Pattinson. So that's
Yeah.
like so it's almost like that River Song thing from Doctor Who,
Yeah.
where it's like these people's lives are intersecting and like this is the end of one person's life but the beginning of the others and something like that. I think we're supposed to pick up on that, but like I just didn't really care. It's like, oh well, he's dead now.
Yeah, I mean, that was the point in the movie where I was like, okay, let's see these loose ends start tying up. And some of the stuff I figured out. It's like, oh, this was always the main guy. This was just, he got introduced to this, and I can tell by the decisions he's making. It's like he doesn't know he's the main guy, but he's figuring it out. That like, oh yeah, this is what's going on.
And I thought like the lady was like awkward with like pairing with whoever, but I did like that she was like, oh, she's like super fucking tall because I think she's like 6'3", but she's always wearing heels, so she looks like she's like 6'7".
Yeah.
And I think John David Washington's like 5'11", so she just towers over him. But
yeah.
But they also have a weird relationship. But I don't know this
And he played in the NFL, so there you go.
Yeah, but what they call it inverse time, like or no, not inverse time, inverse. Oh fuck, what's
Inversion?
What's the energy thing? Inverse entropy, isn't that it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of cool concepts that like, pick up the bullet by thinking about you dropped it. Oh, whoop, and the bullet sucks your hand. It's like, oh, cool. Okay, where's this going? It's not.
It's just a
MacGuffin for the whole fucking movie.
Yeah.
I
mean, it creates really cool action scenes.
Yeah, like the awkward fight scenes and stuff. Like once you figure out that, like, oh, this is why this is happening.
I don't know. It's like it almost makes it like the movie's like too long and like I don't want to watch it again. But like most of Christopher Nolan's movies like are meant to be watched multiple times. Like almost all of his movies have something where like you're gonna find new every time. And like I bet there's a lot of stuff to find here, but like I'm not gonna fucking do that because especially like that last like big fight scene, like half of it didn't make sense. Like at all. I couldn't keep track. I know they literally make some people red. There's a red and a blue team, but like I couldn't keep track of everything.
Yeah, and it didn't seem to. I know that there's like high ideals here, and I love things about, like when they're talking about the one scientific theory about that basically would disprove the laws of conservation and heat and motion rules we have about things moving from one state to another. It's called something demon, but it's about what if only there was a demon that there was a box on either side and there was a door in it and a demon was opening and closing, but it only let high speed particles through and it would slam the door on the slow speed particles and it would basically undo a bunch of law. It's a thought exercise to undo like laws of thermodynamics and laws of motion and conservation principles and stuff. And it's like, oh yeah, I've heard of that. That's cool. Like I've read a book written by a scientist trying to explain it to someone like me, and so I sort of get what they're talking about. But the thing with me is like either I didn't catch it or it just didn't develop. I don't know which. Because sometimes movies are too smart for me, and there's so many things coming at me. It's like, what am I supposed to be getting out of this? And that's exactly what I felt with this movie.
Well, also, I think like this movie is like it wants you to think that it's a time travel movie up front, and then you realize, oh, there's no time travel. It's just there's people going reverse for a really long time.
Yeah, there's like it's more like the like there's a branch universe where entropy is reversed. It's like yeah, when the guy lit the car on fire in the inverted universe, you almost froze to death. It's like, oh, okay, that's a weird idea. I get what they're doing. So yeah.
and it's weird, like, because they call it inverse infantry, but like entropy. But I always like knew inverse as being like kind of like upside down and backwards. But now, then I looked it up in like a dictionary site, and it was like now it can just mean reverse. Like you can use it as reverse, but it's not really what it's meant to be. Because like like when you use an inverse fraction, you flip the denominator and the nominator. Or the other ways, like I always think about it, is like you ever use like a 3D program where you can like grab an object and like kind of crease the X and Y, Z axis like all at once.
Yeah.
So if you grab it and like kind of bring it to 0 and then start going into the negatives, that's inverse, because if you look at the image, it's like upside down and backwards and like almost mirror shape, because like all the X's and Y's now become negative. That's what being inverse is.
Yeah.
Because I made a thing about that too. So in one of my fictions, because they create they cross universes, but they do it with like this explosion that like it explodes outwards and picks them up in the explosion, and then it collapses in on itself. And then, but when it collapses in on itself and comes out the other side, it expands, and so it goes into inverse. So they come out the other side upside down and backwards.
Yeah.
But anyways, so I don't know. That was like one of my gripes. Is like where it's like apparently you can just use inverse to mean reverse now. So. Yeah, I probably. Yeah, I wish I wanted to have a lot to say about this movie, so I wish I knew you watched it. I probably would have watched it again. I know Andrew hated this.
Yeah, that's why Nathan has my copy.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem.
Oh, and my player was a 4K player.
Oh, good.
So I didn't. I thought I was just going to be able to. At first, I thought I couldn't play it at all, and then I stuck it in this player I bought a couple months ago, and it's like, oh, this is a 4K player. Okay, cool.
Well, I mean, it didn't have the Blu-ray copy with it.
It had that too,
okay.
But I was going to try the 4K because I was looking at the front of because I actually have just a dedicated like player.
Okay.
And because I bought it because of the Xbox that I had there for 10 years died. I just put the 4K in, and it's like, oh yeah, this TV and this thing can do this now. Cool. Okay. So I got to watch it in its full glory on a 80-inch TV or whatever. So.
I mean, it's a good-looking movie. It's an A+ production. So.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, I did sit down and watch it all in one sitting, but I was halfway through. I was like, well, either I'm stupid or this isn't connecting with me. One or the other. Both are equally possible.
It's the second one.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I was going to give you an opportunity to go off on this, Andrew. I don't know if you had something really specific that you hated about this movie.
No, just pretty much everything Nathan said. It's very convoluted and makes you feel stupid for not getting it right at the first go. And it seems like it's like an hour into it, you're like, oh my God, there's like half an hour left, right? No, there's like another hour and a half left. And it's like, you can feel that movie drag the whole time. It's just hard to watch. Like, I don't know how the hell he like edited that and it was like, yeah, this is my masterpiece, because no. Like,
maybe because of COVID, they just let him make a longer movie. Because there's like, we've been talking about with like the Wonder Woman movie where it's like that didn't need to be 2.5 hours, but with COVID, it's like, well, it doesn't really matter. It's like people aren't in theaters; they're at their home. They can walk around, go to the bathroom, eat while they're watching the movie if they want or not. So.
I mean, maybe the length getting cut down would have saved it because it would have made the story more condensed and maybe more followable, but I wouldn't say that necessarily is a theory that might work. I think it still would have been convoluted and hard to follow, regardless of the runtime. So, I mean, everybody's a good actor in it. It's not like there's any bad performances, but it's just dragged down by the writing. Just like my Creep show that I watched from Shudder this week. That was fucking horrible. You thought some of the shit from Love, Death, and Robot was bad. They had a werewolf sequence that made it look like fucking like a bunch of blind men put together their costumes. It was pretty bad. I don't know what their budget was, but
it is Shudder, so it's not.
Oh, I know, but they had the guy that was in like the new guy called Cancer Boy or Cancer Guy or whatever. Like his short was actually pretty good. I liked his. Everybody else's, it made no sense. The payoff was stupid, and it's like they have good actors doing all this stuff, but they totally fucked on that, or they fucked everything up on that one. So I don't know.
I saw a preview for one that looked kind of interesting, where it's like, what's the guy from? Was he the hack? No, he wasn't the hacker. Like the kid from Dodgeball and the fourth Die Hard movie.
Yeah, Justin Long.
Justin Long, yeah. So it's like something where he creates a VR thing, and they put him in like some old timey or not. It was like a movie with Christopher Lee called like Monster Train or something like that. It looked kind of interesting. But they're like literally using the footage from the Christopher Lee movie and just kind of inserting him in there.
I've heard about Money Plane, but I haven't had a chance to catch it yet. It's the plane where you can bet on anything goes. Come on, it sounds like a winner of a premise for a movie.
It's a sequel to Money Train.
I don't know. All I know is that there's some actual like reputable actors in it, and it's like, well, that's definitely a paycheck movie.
Oh yeah. I think I saw the Red Letter Media guys cover that. Yeah.
So that was interesting, or at least the trailer looked interesting. And there's some new stuff that dropped trailer-wise this week that I was interested in. Mostly the 12 Rings movie with Marvel, like that dropped last week. That looked probably interesting. And then teaser for Sweet Tooth, which I don't know. That might be shit. It might be good. I don't know.
I hear a lot of people talk good things about the comic, but I have no. I don't.
Yeah, I've never read it, so yeah, I don't know exactly how dark or how interesting the comic is. Because I mean, it's the age-old trope of a virus kills everybody in its apocalyptic setting, but also with half animal, half human babies. So I don't know if that's going to make anything interesting or actually good. But I mean, if they're the comic book did well, they're making a movie out of it. It can't be that bad. But I don't know.
I don't know. That's just if it's based on a comic book, it kind of means it's easily greenlit. But who knows? Maybe it's complicated. I don't know.
Maybe
not complicated. I saw Greyhound.
Oh, okay.
Oh, what'd you think of that?
That was a great movie.
Was it?
Yeah. Like if I were making movies, Greyhound would be like the movie I'd make. Cause like I don't have anything to say. I'm not all about like character arcs. So when there's only one character arc in this movie, and it's just Tom Hanks. Like it's just because he's kind of seen he's positioned as kind of a religious guy. He's like this guy got called out of retirement to watch these ships take him across the sea. And it's just these transport ships. He's like captain and destroyer, and then they seem to do a good job, and they take out some of these submarines, and like the whole crew's happy that they took out the submarine, and like he seems to be kind of like perplexed by it because like, hey, we just killed people. Like I'm not happy about that, but I'm good at my job. And so what I like about this movie is like it's not a movie about like deep emotional catharsis and stuff like that. It's just dudes doing their job.
Yep. Okay.
And it looks really good. There's like a lot of cool stuff like I've never seen before where it's like where like the ocean waves are really like, they're really stormy and like they have like the white crest and stuff like that. And seeing like all the waves and like a torpedo going underneath it and like the way how the light refracts through like waves on it, like that looks really fucking cool. And this seems really fucking dangerous and like just all the details of all the action and like what the stuff they have to do to try to like maintain all this order and stuff. Like they just do all that stuff really well, and it's just a really dirt simple movie. It's an hour and a half. Like it's really good. So
yeah. Yeah, I haven't seen that one yet. What paywall is that behind?
It's Apple, but I think you can just get it anywhere now if you pay for it.
Oh,
but
okay.
It's on the Apple streaming service.
Okay.
But I think it's everywhere to buy.
Did everybody else catch the Mortal Kombat movie at all?
I did.
Of it.
Yeah. Does anybody want to talk about that, or did Matt not want to get spoiled anything? I mean,
I don't have a problem. You can talk about it. I don't plan on watching it.
Man, that is a wildly inconsistent movie. That the first scene in the movie promises a good movie that never happens.
Yeah, I know.
Like
yeah,
that.
That's why I tapped out about halfway through. I was like, well, this looks pretty cool.
Yeah, because the trailer looked like, okay, this looks more
serious and gritty.
Yeah. Competent, that's what I was gonna say. Then like the other ones, like the first Mortal Kombat movie, like it's fun, dumb, kind of throwback, like 60s like kung fu movie. So like it's allowed to be campy and stupid.
Yeah.
But like this, yeah, it's very gritty. It's very serious. The action is really, and this is just the first 7 minutes. It's very cool. The fact that it's in subtitles in the first 7 minutes probably helps a ton because these people can't write for shit.
No, the whole movie was. I was very disappointed how long it took to actually get to anything because like most of the movie's runtime is just set up for an hour and 15-minute movie. Like you feel like you go nowhere and it's been an hour in the movie already. It's like wow, we've really made no progress anywhere.
But like the opening scene is like it's like Scorpion and Sub-Zero, and then but then they're just bookends to the whole movie. The rest of the movie is just kind of garbage. The only good thing in it is like Kano because he's just that actor's good at being like a kind of funny backstabbing douchebag.
I just found him annoying because like they didn't allow to build tension in the movie and make it serious because every 5 seconds he had to fucking say something.
Yeah.
It was good for the first like.
But
2 minutes.
I don't know. That's the thing. Like everybody's saying, everybody's cracking jokes. Like that's why like it kind of loses a lot of its stuff is because like everybody's trying to be funny, and then like where they just shoehorn in shit from the game, where it's like where people say finish him or like Kano wins or fatality. Like it's like, oh, this is embarrassing. And like some of the fight scenes are cool, and some of them are like, eh. Like there's just so much stuff where it's like some of the production, like, oh, that's really well done. Some of the special effects, that's really well done. Other ones, no, that looks terrible. I mean, this looks like the original Mortal Kombat movie. It's like, I don't know. And like I was looking up trivia about it, and I kind of feel sorry because it seemed like, because there's nobody of notable name in this except for the guy who plays Scorpion. Like that dude's been in a lot of movies.
Yeah,
he's a quality actor,
Japanese actor.
But like he's only bookended in this movie, and he's the best thing about it. So he only gets like 15 minutes. Well, and the guy who plays Sub-Zero, he's like from the Raid Redemption, so like that dude's got some chops too. So like this is a first-time director. They were able to secure basically production in South Australia, so this was like really like kind of like the pride of South Australia like film company, and like they dropped the ball on like most of this fucking movie.
Yeah, well the story was just terrible.
Yeah,
it was just like, huh? It's like, wait a minute, you had a framework to work from that you could have made, maybe.
Well, like the whole idea of like I mean, Mortal Kombat is like you have an actual fighting tournament. Yeah. But like the whole like concept of this movie is like you're supposed to have a fighting tournament, but Shang Tsung's an asshole, and he's trying to subvert that, and that's the movie. It's like, okay, like and it seemed like it was like they were trying to make the movie for fans of the video game, so it's like, we don't gotta do too much work for the audience; it's already done for us. And then they just didn't do any work at all.
Yeah. It's like no idea what people liked anyway.
Did anybody think it was weird, like what they did to Raiden and Shang Tsung's voice or whatever? Because like they upped the godliness mode because they like totally upped the bass and everything else on their voices every time they talked.
Yeah, it seemed like he was dubbed. So yeah, that stuff was fucking weird.
And then like everything on Outworld like looks stupid. I don't know why they even bother doing anything there. And like all the fights had.
I think I know why they did that is that there's like the location like looked cool in the camera because it was like an abandoned coal mine, so it had like a really high contrast in the film grain. So like it's like, oh, this is cool, but then they didn't really do anything with it. It just kind of looked cool. That was it.
Well, I mean, the other thing is, too, like, there's no weight to any of the fights except for the first and the last one, so it didn't feel like there was anything. Plus, like, it was inconsistent as shit in the story. Like, they don't let Sonya into the training ring because she doesn't have a Arcana, and she's not going to be able to be trained because she doesn't have a mark. And then the next scene where they get ambushed, she's in the training area. It was like, wow, you guys really stick to your rules here. And Kano was just super annoying after the first 5 minutes. Plus, I found it really stupid that the writers had him... Like, he tears the heart out of an invisible lizard with acid blood that tried to claw him to death. But then Liu Kang throws a fireball, and he's like, holy fucking shit, man, you fucking see that? That's so fucking weird, man. And it's like, yeah, if you're not fucking freaked out by an invisible lizard with acid blood, why the fuck are you freaked out by a guy that throws a fireball? Like, I don't know. I don't know who the fuck wrote that movie. I think James Wan produced it too.
Yeah.
Which he seems to be really hit and miss on most of his movies anymore. I mean, I guess I don't know what he does anymore for his Fast and Furious and the Conjuring.
He did one Fast and Furious movie and Conjuring and yeah, that was kind of his latest ones. You know, like Death Proof. Or not Death Proof, Death Sentence.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
And his writing partner for Saul did that. What was that one movie where the guy gets the body that he can't control and it was it Upgrade?
Yeah, Upgrade.
Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah.
That one wasn't bad.
No, I really like that movie, but I believe the Saw guys are James Wan and Lin Winall, I think is his name, and Lin Winall did the Upgrade movie, so I imagine James Wan probably produced that as well, being that he's such a successful producer.
Because I know the director for it he directed a good Star Wars Duracell commercial, so they gave him direction of that movie. And so I was like, wow, that's really shows because he couldn't direct anything in that movie. I mean, it wasn't all his fault; it was the writing as well. But at the same time, it's like, man, I don't know who the fuck decided on it because like the original guy that was supposed to do it, he's the one that made like a gritty, realistic like a Mortal Kombat fan film for like 15 minutes short. And
there was a series that came out like in the mid 2000s where it was like 2 seasons of it, and it was just like a fan thing at first, and then I think Warner Brother produced like the second season, but it had like Jerry Ryan as Sonya Blade, like it had some like some stuff by, but yeah, it was like a real gritty like Saw take on like Mortal Kombat. Like Reptile wasn't like some weird creature; he was just like a serial killer that like put acid in people and stuff like that. Yeah, it was like a real gritty, like kind of down to earth Mortal Kombat that was just more about very strange violence being committed on people, unless the mystical nature of the actual Mortal Kombat series.
I mean, all in all, like the movie was supremely disappointing considering I was actually looking forward to it based on the trailer.
I don't know, like man, like I mean, did you ever see Annihilation? Like,
yeah, I did.
Not the movie Annihilation, Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
Oh, yeah, I did.
That
because I was gonna say, it's like I thought Annihilation was good.
No, Mortal Kombat Annihilation is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. It is a fucking awful movie. So I had no expectations for this movie, but it was worse than the original Mortal Kombat. I mean, it was better than Annihilation, but I gave you. But that's an awful movie. But
no, I mean, I guess my expectations were that they were just going to go for like good realistic fights because they had, like you said, one of the guys from the Raid and the other guy that's an actually decent actor, not a good fight actor, but a good actor. Yeah. I mean, you think they totally commit to the whole aspect of like, realistic fighting and good finishes, and a decent story, but they couldn't do any of it. Yeah. So yeah. I mean,
yeah, it's just yeah, that's why you just watch the first 7 minutes and let your imagination make the rest of the movie, because first 7 minutes promises a movie that never happens. But also, like, yeah, I mean, I guess my expectations grew when I saw the trailer, because like, oh, this looks, like I said, looks competent. Like some of that stuff, I don't know, there's like that last fight scene where Sub-Zero has the ice sword, and sometimes that ice sword looks really cool, and sometimes it looks like a clear plastic toy that the character's carrying around.
Sometimes the blood was really hit and miss too, as far as looking actually really well, which was disappointing because it's like you guys are basically doing this CGI. You think you at least try and make it somewhat believable.
And apparently this got an NC-17 rating for violence, and so they had to cut back on some of the violence. So I'd be interested to see what violence they cut down, because like this was nowhere near as violent as a Mortal Kombat game, but also Mortal Kombat games are kind of cartoonish, so you can kind of get away with the extreme violence in the video game, and not necessarily when you have real people. But
no, it's just kind of it's because after watching a couple of videos like them talking about it and stuff like that, we're very proud that they're like, oh yeah, we want to fit in fatalities here, and we want to really embrace that part of the game. And it's like, but you embrace nothing else about it.
Yeah.
So it's yeah. It's just
We're gonna have our new main character Cole fight Goro. It's like, oh, cool. We're gonna fight it in like a underground tunnel area, like people chained to the walls. Like, no, we're gonna have him fight in a farm in the Australian outback. It'll be super cool. It's like, no, it won't.
Yeah, it does not have all the hallmarks of cool.
Yeah. Another Warner Brothers failure for this year. So.
Yeah.
hopefully Dune and Matrix will be good, but who knows?
Yeah. I mean,
That's the only one I'm holding out hope for right now, to be honest.
I mean, I have high hopes for Dune just because of Denis Villeneuve. Like, just from what I've seen of his stuff, has never made a bad movie. So
Yeah.
but Dune is also like kind of a cursed production in general. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's not it's very hard book to option as a movie. As a movie. Now as a TV series with the quality they have now, they could do that, but I don't know.
I mean, they did do a TV series, but
no, I mean, like, well, yeah, they tried. They actually included a lot more than I thought they would, but they didn't keep up didn't have the energy it needed.
Yeah,
because I watched them all. I own them actually, the Sci-Fi Channel version, and
yeah,
those were the people that wrote the scripts for those TV series. Like, they love the books in all their detail.
Now, was there a second series like called like House Harkonnen or something like that?
Dune and Children of Dune.
Oh, okay.
And Children of Dune kind of threw together the next two novels because there was a lot of like, Dune is remembered as like, yeah, this is like one of the ultimate sci-fi books. It's like one of the best examples of complex world building you'll ever see. Now all the sequels are like, do you like Dune? Did you really like Dune? You'll like these too, but they're not going to be the home run that Dune was. It's just a whole lot of backstory. It's like the Lord of the Rings for sci-fi. It's like, these people represented this, and they came from this area, and they did this. This is who these people were, and this is why they're this way. Yeah, they did Dune, and then they did Children of Dune as a follow-up. And yeah, they brought in some like that guy, the British guy that played Harkonnen. He was an interesting version of Harkonnen, Baron Harkonnen. And then Susan Sarandon played Princess Iluran in Children of Dune. She was like the heavy in that, but that got almost too mired down in details, and the rest of the cast they had and the production team they had really didn't carry it through with the energy they needed to maintain Dune interest. They did the best they could, being constrained by TV budget. So especially with the Sci-Fi Channel in like the 2000s, like that wasn't, they weren't doing Game of Thrones shit back then.
No, they had Stargate. Actually, that was probably still on Showtime when they had that. But the thing with Stargate, like, it was like half produced by the Air Force.
Yeah, you get a lot of buy-in from the Army. It's like, oh man, that Stargate has some excellent sets. It's like, well, yeah, it's because the Air Force is letting them use all these places.
Yeah, they let them use places. They gave them free uniforms and like dummy weapons and all that stuff. That all came from the Air Force.
As long as you make them look good,
yeah,
they'll do it.
Like, oh, we're defending the universe and nobody on our team is a bad guy. Like, fine.
That's a recruitment poster right there.
Yeah.
How many people showed up at the recruiting office? Hey, I want to join the Stargate team. Okay, we have something like that. Yes. Now it's called Space Force.
Space Force.
Yes, I still haven't watched that. Well, I still have my Apple subscription. I still haven't watched the space show yet that they put
For All Mankind.
Yeah.
The clips I've seen of it, there's a guy I listen to that's a fan of it, and because it's like just a weird Cold War retelling of the space race.
Yeah.
But like if the Cold War continued to the moon.
Well, also, like, I heard somebody talk about it. It sounded interesting because it sounded like the show was like a bit more module than, like, it's not necessarily like here's our characters for the rest of the seasons. It sounds like they flipped things around quite a bit. I also didn't know that Ronald Moore was involved, and he's hit or miss, but he's usually interesting.
Yeah.
Because I hear there's like an episode where that sets up everything where, like, it sets up that like mostly women end up in NASA, and so like the rest of the series carries forward as like a lot of the people in charge of everything are women, for reasons, because they end up being this war between Russia and space. Like the women end up being better at that space shit for some reason. So that's
Better pilots, yeah.
yeah. So that seemed kind of interesting. Which like, I wasn't expecting that. I was just expecting awkward fights on the moon.
Well, there is that too. I mean, the clips I've seen, like I said, I haven't watched it yet because I don't have that Apple program yet. But it's like it goes through time, because it starts off like the Russians made it to the moon first. That's where the history diverges, and then it goes from the 70s to the 80s. So it they flip over the script, or flipped over the story a lot with that. But it's interesting, like the clips they do, because they do have a YouTube channel, and they show you the coolest stuff. And it was like, oh, there's guys on the moon in spacesuits with machine guns, and they're actually Marines, but the guns are painted white it has something to do with, I don't know, reasons. But then they're actually using like a modernized version of the original lunar lander as an assault vehicle. Because all these guys are holding on outside, and they're flying through this canyon, and they're using the old, we came here, one small step for man, like that kind of technology, but they've got like assault troops on it, and they're flying through a canyon, and which is really dangerous because you got the weird gravity and stuff. So it looks kind of interesting. I don't know.
Oh, they probably did that stuff better in that one Brad Pitt movie. They did stuff like that.
Oh yeah, the cool movie that, like, if your dad really hated you, it's like this. What's that called? Ad Astra. Yeah. That movie was a series of cool scenes, but ultimately a disjointed mess.
Yeah, it's like A+ production, but a bad movie.
Yeah, kind of it's a bad good movie. It's a movie like you can have it in the background, like, oh, I like this part. Okay, go back to what.
There's things you can appreciate about it. You can you can show somebody a scene, but you can't watch the movie and appreciate it.
No. Yeah, based on a comic book too. So.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
I think so. Yeah.
But speaking of a movie we can appreciate, we watched a movie this week.
Yes, we watched the very expensive 1997 Contact.
Andrew, did you get to watch this movie? Because we've been building this up for you.
Yeah, I watched today.
Okay, good.
Which is based on the late great Carl Sagan's novel of the same name.
Okay.
This movie started production in 1979, and with Carl Sagan and his wife or whatever, developed a script for it. And then, lots of, this is what you call production hell, because it basically got kicked around between directors and people like that until 1995 when they started filming it. It's a $90 million movie. In 1995 bucks.
How much did it make in box office though?
Domestically, it made 171, and then you had another. Let's see, what's the thing here? Another 65 international. It had an unusually long run. One of those movies that came out and peaked, and then sort of had a renaissance because other people were hearing about it. It's like, this is kind of cool. But yeah, this is the. I don't know. Is this one of the last good Jodie Foster films?
What about what's that Mel Gibson one, The Beaver? What about that one?
Yeah, it's kind of what I'm talking about. Yeah,
I don't know. They're pretty similar.
They are.
Yeah,
they both involve SETI, and
I mean, because when I think of Jodie Foster, I pretty much just think Silence of the Lambs in this. But
Taxi.
What about Nell or whatever? What about Nell? Do you like that movie?
I couldn't bring myself to watch that movie. It looks too embarrassing from the trailer.
It's actually kind of cool. She does a good job.
Yeah, she does.
Because it's a difficult. She has to play a character that basically has learned to speak from someone with an extreme speech impediment. So she has to fumble through the movie. Like, it's a challenging for an actress. I'm not going to say it's a movie that's like, you're going to love this, it's going to blow your mind.
I mean, I thought she was good in Panic Room and Elysium. So
Oh yeah, Panic Room. Yeah.
Yeah, that was another one.
I mean, otherwise, yeah. I mean, Maverick. I hate that movie.
Taxi Driver was good.
That I like that movie. It's just not like something I watch like a shit ton
Well,
of times.
Nathan's proclamation was the movies after this that were good of her. So,
Yeah.
so probably just Panic Room.
Yeah,
I'm
probably
not looking at her filmography. I'm just trying to go off the top of my head. So,
Well, it was Hotel.
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Because mostly what I know of her, like, it seemed like after a while she kind of got more into production and directing, but I don't know. I don't know stuff that she's directed other than Little Man Tate.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she doesn't have like a lot of film credits in the last 10 years. It's only like 6. So I mean, as far as actress anyway, I mean, pretty much the last thing she was in that I saw was Hotel Artemis, and that was an okay movie, but that's not her fault.
No.
Director, what did she direct? Oh, come on, I just want to see director. Oh, so she's directed Tales from the Loop, Black Mirror episode, Money Monster, which I like that movie, so I like that. Orange is the New Black 2 episodes, I didn't know that. House of Cards, The Beaver, Home for the Holidays. God, that movie sucks. Little Man Tales from the Dark Side again, and Stephen King's Golden Tales, which I don't know what the fuck that is. She hasn't really done much directing then. It's mostly TV stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, this movie was Contact was it has an amazing cast. Let's name a few people: Matthew McConaughey, Jodie Foster, James Woods, Tom Skerritt, William Fichtner, John Hurt, Angela Bassett, Rob Lowe, David Morse, and Jake Busey.
And Bill Clinton.
Well, yeah, and then they had a lot of CNN, like because wasn't the actual network in this CNN? Like, they just used the people.
I saw some trivia on there. It said that after this movie, CNN didn't allow people to use CNN in movies anymore.
Oh, well, I didn't know that. Okay.
Because the Bill Clinton scene in there, that's just a real thing that Bill Clinton was talking about. That wasn't like made up for the movie.
That's when he was talking about the stuff on Mars. Yeah.
Well, there was a meteorite they found in Antarctica in like 95 or something like that they discovered this is from Mars. And so that speech that they gives in the movie is from that moment where they reveal that.
Yeah.
And he says that thing like, and we're listening or whatever. And like, I guess when Robert Zemeckis saw that, it's like, oh fuck, we don't have to write anything. We can just use this.
Yeah,
because there was supposed to be a fictional president for this movie, but then they ditched it. It was supposed to be a woman too. Like, it was supposed to be like Glenn Close or something like that. But also, if you look at the IMDb trivia for this is fucking ludicrous. Like, half of it is not helpful at all. There's one weird one where it's just like talking about some specific thing, and then just tacked at the end of it is like, it was about like the suicide pills for the astronauts and like whether that was true or not. And then like the last sentence of that trivia is like, NASA stands for National Aeronautics Space and whatever Association, or I can't get it right. It's like, why did you put that in there?
Maybe people didn't know.
Yeah, maybe. And it was like, it was like 200 people found this helpful. It's like, this isn't helpful at all.
100 people who English isn't their first language. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway. This movie not only had a great cast, but it also had they had great access to the VLA, the Arecibo Observatory, which I described the demise of a few weeks ago. Because all the places in this movie where she goes, those places really look like that.
Yeah,
those are real places. They didn't have to build a set. VLA also appeared prominently in 2010. That's been around for a while.
I like that it just stands for Very Large Array.
Yeah, that's like a scientist's name. So yeah, and it was based on a good movie. It was a cool story. I kind of thought the conflict between religion and science was was a little like long-winded. Like I
Yeah.
don't think it come up in this, but it was Carl Sagan that was kind of his thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, Sagan's trying to like, a lot of his stuff is trying to bring science to normal people, us stupids.
Yeah.
So, like, if he has to approach somebody who's like, everything is designed around religion, like, that's his influx. Is like, well, it's like, well, this is how I'm going to get you to agree with me through religion and science.
Yeah, well, Carl Sagan was kind of the early he was an early science popularizer, and he was also like a less confrontational. Who's the biologist that's like Richard Dawkins, super atheist? Yeah, he's not like Richard Dawkins, but he kind of. I mean, he wrote a book called The Demon Haunted World that says how superstition and religion has held us back, and that was Sagan that wrote that book. So yeah, that was definitely played up, and that got annoying to me. I mean, I know it was like a kind of a hinge that the characters had to develop on, but especially
it's like their character arc.
Yeah, but it was still annoying.
It's not like she believes in God at the end of the movie, but she understands the idea of a leap of faith, I guess, or whatever.
Yeah. And then Tom Skerritt as her evil mentor that, is always trying to outmaneuver her. Which a lot of that stuff comes from the book. The book's a little different than the movie, but, if you've seen the movie, you don't need to read the book.
Oh, did you read the book?
Yeah, I read the book. I read all of Sagan's stuff.
Okay.
When I was in high school.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't reread it for this. Because I remember when I read this in high school, the stuff about Hitler being like, that would be our emissary to the stars if somebody picked that up. Oh, that's terrible to think. They would think we were fucked up. But really, there wasn't anything that went on in that transmission that would lead people to believe that there was, from other planets. It's like, oh, this was the leader of Earth. His name's Hitler, and he likes to yell.
I had when everyone was making a vampires versus werewolf movie, like I too was as well was playing a vampire versus werewolf movie.
Okay.
And the twist ending to it is, the gray aliens, like kind of the classic gray aliens, show up in Nazi uniforms at the end of the movie, and the vampires and werewolves have to join together to fight Nazi aliens. No explanation. I was like, it was just purely aesthetics because I thought that would be funny to have. It'd be like one of those those funny episodes of X-Files where they had shit like that.
Oh, yeah, where they have the aliens smoking cigarettes and talking because he's just a guy in a costume, but everyone was so freaked out they thought it was real. This movie also had a great performance by John Hurt.
Yeah, which I didn't realize that was him until this viewing.
Yeah, he's kind of a weird version of he was the in the 95 he was like the prototype what we call American tech oligarch now. He's kind of that weird behind the scenes guy. It's like, I'm going to fund your research exclusively, but I want something, And,
well, apparently, like when the trivia, which I said is also not helpful, but it said that he was developed that way because Robert Zemeckis thought like, hey, what if Bill Gates went crazy? And apparently that's the character of Haddon as a crazy Bill Gates. Although he didn't really come off as crazy in this, just kind of like eccentric and his it's like it seems like this is like super important to him, but it's like not occupying his time. It's like, what else is occupying this guy's time?
Yeah. What else does he have going on? Well, he was dying too. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
That's why he was on Mirror, because Logan helped his condition, helped him live a day or two long. Because remember at the end, the last broadcast was them zipping up a thing to shoot him out of the airlock because he's dead.
This movie has fantastic cinematography.
Oh yeah, didn't it win an Academy Award? Was it cinematography or sound? One of the two.
This has one of the fucking coolest shots in cinema history. When it's the young version of Jodie Foster's character, her dad collapses and she runs to the medicine cabinet.
Yeah, I wonder if they shot through the mirror to do that.
They just combined two shots together. Like the mirror was like a green screen in one shot, and then it was just like a straight on shot in the other. But like, what's fucking cool about that shot is like technically the camera takes a 180-degree turn at some point, but it doesn't. Like, think about that. The camera's on her, and then it's pointing at a mirror, but it's seamless. You don't. That was one of the fucking coolest shots ever done. Which, knowing Robert Zemeckis, like, that's kind of like his thing. It's like, oh, I got this idea for a cool shot. It's like, cool. Can we work on the character, Robert? No.
Yes,
You
the
don't need
character
that.
will be in the shot.
Don't you mean to say the protagonist will be in the shot? In Tenet 2, it's going to be from the antagonist point of view.
I don't know, Andrea, did we improperly or properly hype you for this movie?
I don't think you even properly hyped me. Like I knew I wanted to watch it. I just never really knew where it was at and stuff like that. I didn't have access to it. I mean, I didn't really know anything about it going in besides it's a movie about contacting another life form on a different, planet or system. And other than that, yeah, like Nathan talked about the religious undertones in the movie. I don't find it annoying. I just was like, half the movie was like, God, I'm just pissed that all these fucking idiots that talk about their invisible friend are holding back people doing scientific discoveries. Because I was like, oh, Rob Lowe's in this movie. It's like, oh, and Matthew McConaughey plays like a Christian kind of believer in science, but not really, because he thinks it holds back humanity from finding the truth.
I don't know. It's like the premise of the book he's working on is all about is like has technology helped humanity?
Yeah.
And the answer is yes, but
yeah, that's what I would, because he was like, "Oh, it's driven the world apart." It's like, well, that was maybe in the 90s.
I thought it was super funny, like how like the internet is actually like represented in this movie as like fully functional, which I guess it would be at the time because these people are all using these like government installations that created the internet, so they probably had video internet and stuff like yeah.
But I felt that, or sorry,
but like there's that diatribe he goes on like. Just before she picks up on the signal where he's like, people are isolated. There's a synthesized society and stuff like that. It's like, dude, people have been fucking saying that for 30 fucking years. It doesn't mean anything. You're not wrong. You're not wrong, but you're not right.
Most people are isolated because they choose to be and they're happy to be there. I always like when they talk about these notions of people are isolated and alone. It's like, yeah, and they're probably better off.
No, because I found his character very annoying throughout the whole film. Like, he was literally playing the perfect Christian character where it was just like, he knows everything and he's, the right moral person. Because especially when she's on the board taking her interviews for being picked for the flight for IMC, it's like, oh, okay, she has great answers to everything. She has a good question to ask them. She's very, she's not a dick about not believing in God, but she's like, I believe in empirical evidence. I believe that there's no, and that comes back to haunt her in the final interview because it gets thrown back in her face the other way. And it's like, oh, okay, fine. Yes, she realizes now what it's like to basically take a leap of faith or have a belief in something nobody else believes in without evidence. But at the same time, it's like, oh, the Matthew McConaughey character just totally sympathizes with her finally and backs her up. And it's like, so where was that the whole movie? You just didn't want her to go to the fucking space because you wanted to fuck her some more, and that made it okay. I mean, technically, she would have died in the bombing, I guess.
Yeah, also, I thought I thought they kind of also juxtaposed Matthew McConaughey's character with Jake Busey's character, where it's like these are the extremes, and like so by comparison, Matthew McConaughey's character is like pretty level-headed, and by comparison,
yeah, I mean they tried to make him meet people halfway throughout the film, and I thought that was okay, but it was very much like very Trump supporter vibe the whole movie. That's why I think it felt with modern times because it's like. Basically, all the protesters like, fuck science. Science doesn't do anything for us. And it's like, well, okay, I guess you don't want to go to a hospital and drive a car then.
Well, I mean, Jake Busey was not Jake Busey as a person, but his character. That's the Trump supporter vibe.
Yeah.
I mean, Matthew McConaughey that's one of the most sympathetic portrayals of a Christian I've ever seen out of Hollywood. A long time where the movie's not just about that. Is like, yeah, I mean, I don't agree with his opinions either, but it's like, okay, he seems like a guy you can talk to and disagree with.
Yeah.
Not someone who's going to destroy things. And then you had the whole, you know, she had everyone against her. She had the religious people, her mentor, and doctoral thesis guy, Tom Skerritt, he screwed her over. And then you had Angela Bassett represented the political side of everything. It's like, oh, this has got to play with the public. And then you've got this frustrated, it's like, this is just science. Whose feelings are we going to massage here?
Well, I know, and that's why when she brought up the point, because she was there as like, oh, we need somebody that represents, 95% of the world's population and believing in a god or higher power to represent us with the aliens. And it's like, but she makes a valid point. They communicate through science. They're not communicating because they want to talk about God and his greatness. They're communicating because they want to find other civilizations or have a conversation with them just based on merit of the civilization, not because let's be a Jehovah's Witness. Did she take a pamphlet to meet the aliens to talk to them about their Lord and Savior? Because that's what I felt they were going for. And it's just like, and I like Tom Skerritt's line with her before the test launch when he's asked, like, I know you'd like the world to be, based on your own merit and based on how you act, how you live your life, and but it's not that way. And it's like, yeah, it's very true that Tom Skerritt's right. It's not that way, and it's sad that it's not that way. Or if it's just a political power grab all the time.
What's the line she says? Like, I told you the truth, and he told you what you wanted to hear.
Yeah, and exactly right. I mean, it's just fucking. It's sad. Like, it holds up very well, and it's very good. It's a very good modern movie still. I mean, the CGI wasn't that distracting in the parts. You could definitely tell it was there. So
yeah,
I mean,
some of it's good, some of it's bad, but it's the time. So
yeah, so I mean, it's and I were they the first ones to do like the memory grab, like alien poses as the loved one thing, or is that just a trope now? Where it's just that's because I've seen that in different films and different TV shows where it's like always an alien communicates with somebody for the first time in the guise of a dead relative or a friend or some shit.
I definitely know that. Like, I know this is kind of a jumping off point, but like for other people to mock this movie for that because I know that was like what a lot of people didn't like about this movie. It's like, oh, another alien's just gonna be your dad, huh? Like people didn't like that. They thought it was like too hokey and stupid, which understandable. But like for her character arc, that makes sense. So, but yeah, like I don't know, but something else probably did it first. But I remember when people do it, it kind of gets referenced from Contact, and it's kind of used as a way to be satirical of Contact.
Well, I mean, I'm sure they didn't have a special effects budget to make something look really good to represent in that area. It was easier to use a real life actor to make it look more believable.
Well, there's it wasn't necessarily about the character. A lot of like the interesting, I guess, stuff about that scene is that they make the special effects for that scene like really unsettling. Because it's like a brightly lit sand, but there's no actual light source in the sky, so it's like the shit looks really fucking weird.
Yeah.
So they did that intentionally. It wasn't just them fucking up. But
well, I mean, maybe too it was like her imagining her father because it plays into the whole theory that she hallucinated it because she passed out or made it up or whatever. But I do like the way they get out of it at the end, or at least prove her theory at the end, because I like how she defends herself, where it's like, yes, I have to say that, yes, I'm fallible, that this could all be a dream. I could have passed out. I could have made this up. That's totally correct. I could have done all that. But at the same time, it goes against who I am as a human being and what I've learned and how I've changed to, say I didn't experience this. And so she keeps that, for is like, 18 hours or about 18 hours of footage I should have. And then can't remember her damn name now that you guys said it. Her character, Angela Lastax is James Woods' character. And it was like, hell, it's kind of funny. There was like 18 hours of static on there. And then you just like,
well, like, did you read the port? He's like, I skimmed it. He's like, did you read about the camera? He's like, I'm listening. He's like, how much the footage it recorded? He's like, what about it? It's just static, right? It's like, yeah, but it recorded 18 hours of it. Like, that is interesting. Yeah, James Woods' character is like that's one of the things I like about this movie too. Is isn't necessarily like like everyone's understandable in their positions. Like James Wood is like, he's like, hey, aliens sent you a schematic to build you a giant machine. It's like, oh, they just like see any bumblefuck civilization pop up and they send them plans to blow themselves up. Like that makes total sense. Like, and his interest is in national security. So like all his, also I like the part where like when they're first getting the signal and like they first see that it's Hitler and he's like, okay.
At first I really thought it was going to be space Nazis. I'm like, this movie's getting really interesting. Because as soon as just like, it just looks like a vague swastika. I'm like, this is not going to end well. But no, like, yeah, James Wood character, like even when he sees like the documents they get in that overlay from the Hitler video, and it's like, that's all basically gibberish they made into a 3D cube. And he's talking like, oh, this tech mogul just made this out of thin air. And he manufactured all this. And Jodie Foster's character trying to be like, well, technically you can bounce off a satellite, but it's not going to register. And then they cut her off. And it's like, yeah, technically you could do all this, but it actually wouldn't register in the actual system it came from. It would just, go off the satellite. So that and all the alien writing that doesn't make any sense. Like, who made that up and took years of their life to make a code to make specifically into a foreign machine? Nobody knows what it does and can't it replicates for, what was it, $1/3 trillion, and they're like, oh my god, how can we afford this? And it's like, your military budget's at least $1 trillion by now. It's like, I don't know how the fuck you're like, we can't afford this. Like, yeah, you can. Okay.
Well, this movie was kind of the mid '90s version of remember Close Encounters.
Yeah.
There's a lot of parallels in kind of the humanistic thinking in this and Close Encounters, which was also, I think, Carl Sagan was a script consultant on 2000 or Close Encounters. So yeah, there's a lot of like this is just a more advanced version of the light and sound of Close Encounters. Only this time it's Hitler and it's a tesseract cube of language that you have to understand high order math to decipher and all that. Yeah, it's a little more because they're not talking to a lineman from Indiana. This is their main channel to humanity, so they had to upgrade the difficulty a little bit.
Also, the scene when she discovered the sigil is that's a great scene.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Just moving the satellites, and then all of a sudden there's a sound comes in, a great sound that doesn't mean anything, and then like she's like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah, because then they have to like move all the satellites like 10 degrees off axis, and then move them back to make sure they're actually getting a signal, and they show all those satellites. Wah, which it actually takes a huge amount of energy to move one of those.
I think I believe Peter Jackson did like the miniature work on this movie.
Okay, I could see that.
As a favor, because Robert Zemeckis had produced The Frighteners, so that was kind of his payback for it.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure if he did the miniatures himself or he did like the miniature photography or something like that. So I'm not sure like necessarily what they did miniatures of. Like, is it like the thing they built, or if they did miniatures of like the satellites, or both?
Probably the thing they built was always a very complex thing. And then, of course, they had the weird Harrier passenger planes they somehow invented in that time, too, as an offshoot of something.
Yeah, that guy's rich. He can make anything. It's a one-off Harrier jet, private jet.
But yeah, all in all, just a good movie, a good feel-good movie from the '90s with a lot of.
Well, this is the time of movies that like actually like get me emotional. Like, heavy dramas don't care. It's like it's always like seems to like, well, all this could be avoidable. This is just all hubris. Like or romance, like no, don't care. Like this stuff where it's like the humanity's effort. Like that's the stuff I really like. Where it's like the potential of humanity. Because a lot of movies like Arrival's like this. I really like that movie, and just Star Trek in general. But just like the progress, the idea of the progress of humanity. Because
Alien.
Yeah. Well, also it's just like I thought you just meant like not the movie. I just thought you meant like Alien in general.
No, I meant the movie Alien. The progress of humanity also.
But I think like the limit of your own life. It's like, yeah, I'll probably die of heart failure, probably sometime soon, and nothing, and like, and nothing. But like, what I feel lament and sadness for is just humanity in general, because somebody's gonna be the last human to die,
Yeah.
and if that happens on Earth, that'll be a complete waste of all of humanity's endeavors.
Oh, yeah. It could be.
Hey,
Or
that's
not.
why I like these movies, because they seem promising towards the future.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not all negative and too science fiction-y. It's kind of like, oh yeah, I could. This is human level understanding right now. I mean, there's always like the genius that like comes along and can do all this stuff.
Well, it's like movies like this, and also like why the sometimes the idea of Elon Musk seems like, I like the idea of Elon Musk, but I don't like Elon Musk.
Nobody said you had to. No, did anybody see the new stuff I put on the podcast list?
Something about a woman escaping because of a blowjob.
No, the arrested. Okay, so 2 news stories this week that made me laugh when I read them. First one was a Slovakian woman in Slovenia that stopped a robber because he robbed and beat the cashier in the store and was about to make off with the money, and she was acting impressed and said she wanted to give him a blowjob, so they went to the toilet and shut the door so he could get a blowjob. And so she gave him a blowjob till the cops arrived and arrested him. And so her words when they finally barged in the door is like, "Thank God I couldn't do this anymore."
That'll show him.
So that was really interesting. And then the other one this was in New Zealand, a greyhound racetrack. Greyhound won a race, but then tested positive for methamphetamine. So they disqualified the dog and arrested the owner.
Oh,
It was like, well, it didn't say in the article if the dog itself, like the blood test was meth, or just like it had meth on its body or something. So I was like, is the dog methed up? Is that why it won the race? Is that why? Like, it didn't say.
how do
So
they calibrate that?
I don't know.
Immediately, questions I have is like, how many dead greyhounds were there in the wake of getting this meth balance?
But supposedly the person running the dog and the dog itself had a spotless record up to that point, with a zero tolerance policy for illegal performance enhancing substances. So maybe the dog did have meth in its system. Jesus. Dog on meth. Who knew? I wonder if the U.S. tests for meth in race dogs. that could be a good way to make money. Just go to dog tracks and start handing out meth to greyhounds.
Sounds like the next Netflix TV show.
Meth hounds.
Mathematics.
But no, it was a really good movie this week, and it'd be nice if the rest of the movies were that caliber movie. But I know we're getting.
No, we're gonna see. I think next is what Lies Beneath, which I remember not liking.
I know the ending.
And then I know there's Castaway, which that's like I appreciate that movie. I don't necessarily know if I like that movie. Then there's a lot of bad stuff. I don't know if there's any light at the end of the tunnel of this Robert Zemeckis watch through.
This journey.
I guess the only one I'm kind of hopeful for, maybe at least just sitting through and not like hating it, is Welcome to Marwen, just because maybe it might just be watchable but not good.
Yeah.
But, I mean, other than that, yeah, I'm not really looking forward to. I mean, I guess Castaway I've seen numerous times, but I haven't actually seen What Lies Beneath. All I know the ending.
I don't know, it seemed like the subject, like Allied, would be like something like would be up my alley, but I didn't hear good things about it. But I also don't know anything about it. I just like
it's a shitty movie.
Okay.
I rented it. It's not good.
It has all the hallmarks of a good movie until you actually view it, and then you're like, oh, okay.
And now he's currently on a kick of doing like live action Disney remakes. Like he's just taking up the Tim Burton like money train there.
Well, that's your way out of that's your way into the good graces of Disney.
Yeah.
So they can make $1 billion off of a movie they already made $1 billion off of. And everyone just like, have you seen the live action Lion King? No, that sounds creepy. And then I watched some scenes from it and I was like, yes, that is creepy.
And the fact the second one's greenlit and getting made by a well-known director for some reason.
Yeah, because who doesn't want $50 million? Like,
yeah, I know.
If they told me, "Hey Nathan, we know you don't like this kind of stuff, but we're gonna have this $50 million sound," it sounds great. Sounds like the best thing I've ever heard. I'll meet you over at the set and I'll see if I can figure this one out.
Let's polish this turd.
Well, because like, how much still is the old Hollywood bargain? Like, hey, you make our pile of shit, we'll make you something you want to do. Is that still something that actually gets done, or is that just not?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure it is. I mean, I don't understand movie making from the inside by any means, but it seems like there's scripts and there's money and there's actors and then there's directors, and sometimes when you mix those together and shake them up, something good comes out of it. But it's like a 30% success rate. Because there's like great scripts you hear about, like undeveloped stuff, like this has been sitting around for years and nobody wants it, and then somebody gets it and you're like, oh cool, I remember hearing about that, and then the movie comes out and you're like, what? What just happened?
I mean, I know rewrites are necessary for scripts and people going over it a million times and making their 2 cents known, but Jesus Christ, sometimes they can't let anything alone.
Well,
Well, that's just people covering their investment. So
yeah.
It's like, are you creative? No, but I know how to make money. It's like, fuck. No, you don't want to make money. You know how other people made money. You just want to copy that.
Yeah,
poorly.
And that's the thing. That's the problem with Hollywood. There's some unique movies every year, but they don't necessarily make money, or they're not highly profitable or popular.
I don't know. We'll see what comes out of this COVID stuff. Like, there might be a lot of interesting lower budget movies that come out of this. They don't know, but
yeah.
Let's congratulate Trent Reznor for his second Oscar.
Oh, okay, I didn't know he won an Oscar.
He beat himself out from Mank, and he won the Oscar for Soul.
Oh.
Which that was a movie I would not expect that he did the music for.
I've heard good things about Soul, but I haven't heard anything good about Mank.
I've been meaning to watch it. Like, it's David Fincher. Trent Reznor does the music. It's about subject matter I really like. But I don't know. Me and Nathan talked about where it's like there was a HBO TV movie called RKO 281. It has Liev Schreiber in it, and I think it was produced by I keep forgetting his name every time. The Blade Runner guy.
Oh, Ridley Scott.
Ridley Scott. I remember really liking that movie, and I know this is not that movie, but so that's like the only reason I haven't watched it. I mean, it's just sitting there on Netflix, and it's a David Fincher movie, but somehow I haven't watched it yet. But oh well.
Well, because the main criticism is that the character they're portraying is way younger than he actually is in the film. And so, I mean, like, not that I hate Gary Oldman, but at the same time, it's like I wonder why they went with that way, where he's actually too old for the part by a mile.
It's probably because he is a good actor.
Yeah. Because I've never seen a picture of the actual guy, so I don't know if it's even kind of a resemblance or not.
Well, he's just playing Orson Welles, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Orson Welles is a weird dude and it'd be hard to manage that guy or portray that guy. But yeah, I haven't watched that either. I don't know. There's no reason why. Anyway.
And Invincible is getting season 2s and 3s, so yay!
Yeah.
It's a really good show. They just had their season finale yesterday, so.
Yep, and it was a really bloody good episode. So. And it had a Hive song at the end of it, which I was surprised by. I was like, oh, okay, I haven't heard this song in like 20 years.
I like when they're shooting him with the satellite, and then like he goes and blows it up, and it's like he has some like blood on his nose. It's like, and the guy goes, $600 billion for a nosebleed.
Yeah, really. Some of the voice actors surprised me for some of the parts. It's like, oh yeah, shit, that's this guy. And Seth Rogen's like, why the fuck is he in this? But he's not like a horrible choice, I guess, for his character.
Yeah,
But yeah.
his character's kind of a dipshit, but so it makes sense.
Because he played anybody more serious, I don't think I'd take it very well. But yeah, the voice casting's really done really well. Yeah, I can't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they got Jason Sudeikis as like what's his Rexplode is his name or something like
Yeah.
that.
So they had friggin' God damn
Or
it.
not Jason Sudeikis. Fuck.
The guy that played Rothby in the league and stuff like that, and Brooklyn Nine-Nine and shit like that. Yeah, he's really like, I didn't expect to like him in that role, but as more and more episodes, I was like, oh, okay, it definitely fits.
Matt, what's his name? Fuck. It's Jason, right? Is Matt here?
What was the question? I'm
The,
here. Sorry, I just didn't hear what I missed.
the guy
what
who's
your
like kind of the crazy guy.
Explode.
He's like the Greek guy from.
Oh, Mantzoukas.
Yeah, Jason Mantzoukas.
Jason Mantzoukas.
That's it.
I love that guy. He's the best.
Well, yeah, it's because I remember also like who's the guy that created the comic?
Robert Kirkman.
Robert Kirkman. Yeah, he's friends with a bunch
The
of
guy, the Walking Dead guy.
Yeah, so he's friend with. So he's actually been on Comedy Bang Bang, and he's like friends with all those people. So there's like some voice casting comes from like Comedy Bang Bang like meetups.
I know, it was
All
good.
right.
Really good show. And I started watching Tom in Ireland or Frank in Ireland, whatever. Like that was a really good show so far.
Oh, is that a show? Okay.
Yeah, it's a show.
Well, that's all I got for this week.
Yep.
Anyone have anything?
AEW, they did a Johnny Cage nut punch. That was kind of funny. Guy did the splits and just fell back and punched the guy straight in the nuts.
Yes.
It was hilarious because AEW like they're on TNT, so that's like Turner Media, and so like they do a lot of like brand synergy with all the Warner stuff. Like they had a match between Bear Country and Jurassic Express, and it was like the Kong versus Godzilla match. So I don't know what they're gonna do for Dune.
Giant sandworm costume. Sand in the ring.
Is anybody gonna watch that Michael B. Jordan movie that just came up on Amazon before next week?
Oh, the one based on Tom Clancy. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sometime.
Like, it looks interesting, but I don't know if it's like a necessary watch.
I mean, it looks like a very technical revenge movie. So
Is that the one where John Clark?
Yeah.
Where they killed his family.
Yeah.
Okay. I remember that one from the 80s. Or is that from the 90s? Maybe it's the 90s.
Hunt for Rocktober's first book, and that was like 86 or something like that. Oh, was it earlier than that? Okay, it was before I was born. Okay.
I don't know. Let me look. I could be full of shit. That's happened before. Oh. Hang on, everyone. This is about to get into
This needs to be settled. It's too important to end the podcast.
1984.
Okay.
Okay.
Of course, it was shopped around for like 3 years before that. All the publishers were like, no one's going to read. This is boring.
Yeah, didn't that like get popular because like somebody found out Ronald Reagan was reading it?
I think so. Yeah, I think it was so it was something. It was some kind of weird synergy like that. Because they said, well, these novels are too technical and the characters are too one-dimensional. No one's interested in all this technical detail.
I mean, that's all true. That's still a great book.
Yeah, I mean, Tom Clancy was in his prime, was a great author who blended. I mean, he created that genre. That genre did not exist before Tom Clancy.
Yeah.
Because it was like not. I don't know, how would you describe it? It was based on real things, but it was based on what he could find out as a civilian.
Yeah.
And kind of incorporate into a novel. So it wasn't all like 100% like, no, the Russians never had a magneto hydrodynamic invisible submarine drive, but if they did, could things like that exist? And it's like, yes, they could. would a whole, ship of Soviet sailors defect? Well, yeah, that actually happened. Not on a submarine, but yeah. They got killed, but, they tried. So, yeah, that was... yeah, he had a great run of cool stuff. And he got weirdly political.
Then he hung out with Kevin Smith and tried to ask Kevin Smith why he doesn't fly private jets. He's like, because I don't have $100 million.
Yeah, I don't
Tom
have
Clancy.
Red Storm Entertainment money.
That sounds like a fascinating crew. Did you ever like hear him tell stories where it's like him, Tom Clancy, and Carrie Fisher doing like poetry slams at his house?
Yeah.
That needs to be a television show. This shit is stupid. Give me another cigar. Hey, Kevin, I really like Dogma.
He's definitely the winner of the poetry slam, though. He's the last surviving contestant. So,
But that's how they became friends, because like Tom Clancy was like he's a Christian and he really loved Dogma.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you really know your stuff, kid.
that's really surprising. When I watch Dogma, I wouldn't think that a Christian would like it, to be honest.
Well, I think because Tom Clancy saw the details in it, it's like,
Okay.
he wasn't just fucking around. Like, Kevin Smith knows his shit. Like,
Okay.
this isn't just like some random stuff thrown in a comedy movie. Like, no, this is shit out of the Bible.
Fair.
That's right.
Well,
Well,
because I know it was controversial for some people for Alanis Morissette to play God because it was a female version, obviously, and all the violence in the movie and swearing and everything else. So, I mean, surprised. I mean, not that people can't like it if they're Christian, but it's very surprising that somebody liked it as a Christian.
I mean, I don't know how Christian Tom Clancy is, other than like, maybe he was just raised Christian. It's like, I remember all that shit. Hey, Kevin, you should get a private jet. Sure, Tom Clancy. I think that was like literally after he sold his name, the Tom Clancy's *S to Ubisoft for like something like $5 billion or some strange shit like that.
That seems like too much.
Yeah. And
I mean, I know
then he died. Then he died like 2 years later. But,
What did he die of?
Heart failure.
Okay.
And he had he'd been in bad health for years, and he had multiple bypass surgeries and things like that. But he just he just died at 66.
Love cigars, overweight.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it makes sense.
It's gonna happen to you. So.
I mean, I've only read one of his books, which is Rainbow Six, which I enjoyed.
It was kind of an interesting arc to his life too, because he's definitely seen as one of those one of the few writers I like in the era he wrote in, the Cold War, which is an era that fascinates me, especially the late 80s or the 80s Cold War. He was a big Reagan cheerleader, but then had a huge falling out with the Bush family over the Iraq War, because he was one of the few people that went on Fox News, and I mean George W. Bush's Iraq War, and he was like, "Yeah, this is dumb. This is going to lead us into." I mean, he described exactly how it happened, but I remember he was kind of on the outs with the Republicans because he wasn't rah-rah about the war. And then he went and talked to people like Schwarzkopf and asked his opinion, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll go on TV with you and say it's a bad idea." And it's nobody paid attention. He wasn't being patriotic enough in the face of 9/11. So yeah, it's probably why he was hanging out with Kevin Smith and Alanis Morris, or smoking cigars and doing stuff with Carrie Fisher. Because yeah, he was sort of persona non grata because he thought endless, unlimited, open-ended wars were a dumb idea. Us with the Cold War, and that was cool because it involved science. But anyway, I'm done.
Yep.
So this week for the American Greed Factory podcast is Nathan.
Scotland?
Andrew.
And Matt.
Goodbye, America.